So as you can tell, I do a lot of presentations. I do this quite a lot. But I owe Phil an apology because I sent him a different title and then I changed it as I was doing my research over the past month and having conversations. So the title of this talk is, it's not verbose at all. It's called Software Quality in the Senior Engineer's Role in the Age of Agentic AI. So not verbose at all. But the subtitle is, what do we still need to be opinionated about? So it's pretty actually in line, surprisingly, with what the voted on topic of the year is, which is kind of cool that it worked out that way. So introduction, my name is Mark Kleinhaus. I've been a software engineer for a little over 12 years. Worked at a variety of corporate Fortune 500 companies, startups, and then I started my own agency last year. So, so I've been working with agents for about a year now. I first started working with them at Nike last year, and even just a year ago, they were still doing things like inline completion, asking. And nobody was actually using agents at the time. Agents had just started to be released. And so I actually started to use those, and that was only like a year ago. And so now we're in a whole different field, and it's quite crazy how things have evolved so quickly. But I'm going to argue that a lot of the things that we still want to be opinionated about, it's a tough word to say, are still pretty similar, like even today, right? A lot of the decision making and like where we need to have our cognitive space is still pretty similar, even now. So moving forward,
Try clicking.
I think just the circle.
Try clicking the mouse on.
Oh, just click that. Just old fashioned. Okay, here we go. Or the space bar.
And advance down. That.
Yeah, great. Okay, so let's take a step back and just quickly talk about how we kind of traditionally mentor junior engineers, and then I'll talk about managing a fleet of agents and how that can be kind of similar, right? So mentoring junior engineers, right? There's a lot of different paradigms that we've all like inherited either consciously or unconsciously about things that we like to impart and reinforce within the practice, right? So DRY, a lot of different acronyms, dry, solid, right? Acid. I'm sure you're all familiar with these acronyms here. Test-driven development, 12-factor apps. It's not an acronym, but important kind of framework around building distributed systems. A lot of that still applies today, I think. And then finally, softer skills, which are arguably most of you would probably agree are more important with mentorship, right? So understanding the larger picture and downstream impacts. So think of this in terms of like context as well, right? Reinforcing functional and non-functional requirements, assigning smaller scope tasks and showing them how to refine their solutions in a better way. That might sound familiar for you who have worked with LLMs and agents as well. It's very similar kind of practice, right? So, and then how to work with others, navigate disagreements. I haven't had to argue with my agent or a chatbot yet. Actually, it's far on the other side where it tends to just over affirm what you're doing. But I don't know, maybe they'll course correct and go the complete opposite direction. We'll be arguing back and forth with our agents someday. Acquire stakeholder buy-in, career growth, and so forth. So what are the common issues we face with agentic AI when building applications? So writing good tests, right? So agents are getting better and better at writing good tests, for sure, right? There's still some issues though. I had an issue with one time where I was asked Claude to write a unit test, and it was really having issues creating mocks, and they kept failing with the mocks. And after a few prompts, it finally got frustrated, not to anthropomorphize too much, but it essentially, to solve the problem, it took the function it was supposed to test and rewrote it within the test file, rather than so technically correct, right? But utterly useless for unit testing, right? Junior, when we mentor, new engineers, right? There can be kind of similar issues. Well, they do something like kind of technically correct, but kind of miss the larger context and what it's actually supposed to do. So we try to reinforce that. I had a colleague recently that had a production incident where they had added, or there was a database with like a 32-bit field constraint. Someone had updated the database to have that field constraint, but the migration has not been updated. It still used the 8-bit field. And so in the next production incident, the insert failed. Can anyone guess if that was a junior engineer or an agent? Agents? Junior engineer? Yeah, okay. In this case, it was an agent, right? I mean, yeah, 6'7", right? 6'7", as the kids say. Other common issues, inability to graph the complex code base. We all have that issue too, right? That's a common issue we all have as well. So we're no different there. Repeated retries and circular reasoning, prompt drift, hallucinations, etc. So one of the things I thought about in terms of tying together, like, okay, similarities between managing junior engineers and agents, right? We can think in terms of context. So context applies to both the agent and the junior engineer, right? So context is very important. You might be familiar with like context engineering, right? How that's becoming more important these days to efficiently have the right, try to cleaner code and less slot with an agent. Same goes for junior engineer, right? Giving them the context to understand, when they're working on a complex code base or a larger distributed system, what APIs are being impacted with a change, or what components are impacting each other. Mitigation, as we talked about today, lots of automated testing, unit testing, integration, regression, functional testing, etc. And then ownership. So that's something that we can encourage junior engineers to do. So as they say, you might have heard this saying, when everyone owns it, nobody owns it, right? So one of the things we try to mentor junior engineers around is, well, if you see something that's not being owned, that needs to be kind of taken care of. Nobody's really kind of owning that piece of the system. Jump in and help out and own it and take ownership. And the same goes for like agents as well, right? So we can even these days with Claude Code, you can create sub-agent processes and define tasks to have them crawl up over a complex code base or a system and put together a picture or a spec, like an architectural spec, right? To give it the right context. So what do we still need to be opinionated about? So going back to the central topic, right? System and application context, well-formed and comprehensive automated testing, secure software, performance and operability, capturing functional, non-functional requirements accurately. So these are still things that we need to maintain cognitive, headspace around. We still need to make these decisions. These are still all really important. So the role of a senior or lead engineer has not really changed in that regard, right? And then planning and research, ultra important, really important managing agents to write clean, slot-free code, lots of specs, capturing lots of specs with different sub-agent processes before you start. Planning mode in Claude Code, for example, I use that quite a bit. Same goes for junior engineers as well. We want to reinforce, like, if you're going to make a change to a system or a production system, make sure you do a lot of planning and research and plan ahead. All right, so that's my presentation. Thank you to Philip and Moss and the team at PNSQC. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Mark.